Hello everyone, and welcome back to ChatCraft. I finally got a second chicken. Why, so still not much of a chicken farm, but it's getting there. And also, I'm not too certain yet what I'm going to do today. Mostly chopping down trees, I guess. So I have heard that the reason people didn't write anything about the cosmology video was mostly because they didn't know what to write, so that's good. As I said, I'd been a little worried that I'd done a really bad job, but well, if you don't know what to write, you can't be expected to write anything, of course. And there goes my stepladder. So, I also got a question which I've kind of already mentioned it. Someone was asking me to talk about biology, and then he specified that it was cell biology that apparently is giving him trouble. So the problem is that I could easily look up cell biology and read the wiki article and check out a few other sources, and then I could probably just basically talk about that from like what I read online, but the point is that wouldn't really be much help because you can check Wikipedia yourself, and I from the checking I did, I can't really offer any unique insights into the topic that would, I don't know, make it easier in any meaningful way. So the one thing I can tell you is that school biology, especially at an earlier level, it's not necessarily important to understand the topic, which sounds kind of bad, I guess, but at least when I went to school, mostly you could get the top grade in biology easily if you just knew the topic. So there wasn't that much understanding involved as such. Now, if there is like a specific problem understanding a certain aspect of cell biology, for example, then I could look into that. But much more important, I think, especially when you're still going to school, and this is something that probably lots of grown-ups tell you, and it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but if you don't understand the topic just by itself, if you don't have the natural gift for it, I guess, then you're gonna have to just put some more effort into it. Not saying someone who doesn't understand biology is lazy, but the point is, there are people who sort of have a natural knack for a certain topic. There are those who can look at a text in English class and they can see what its meaning is, and then there's others who will have to read the text 5 times and maybe after that they will be able to work out what it's actually about and stuff like that. And the same goes for say biology at a school level. There are those who sort of have the understanding for the topic, I guess, and they will be able to understand very quickly how certain processes work, why certain things are the way they are and such. But that's not necessarily bad if you don't have that particular skill. That's something I had to learn as I advanced through my school career as well, that there comes a point where the natural talent just doesn't cover everything anymore. And so, in a way, it wouldn't even be good if I did tell you about, say, cell biology, just to stay on the example. Because it is important that you manage to work it out for yourself. And the intricate details of the topic, as they are in many sciences, the intricate details are complicated, so you don't necessarily have to understand them. And the basic concept's fine, but like, you don't have to understand every single last detail of it. And I would assume no one is expecting that. But yeah, I guess very specific questions I'm okay with answering, but I think if I just went ahead and sort of talked about the topic, firstly, it would mostly just be sort of a summary, possible reformulation of whatever you can find in the first 10 hits on Google anyway. And it wouldn't really help you, I think. So I know that usually the people saying that school is important aren't really the cool guys, but that doesn't change the fact that it is true, and that many of the things you learn in school are important. And it's not just the facts that you learn that are important, it's also certain behavior patterns, I guess. Like you, sometimes you have to just do some work to understand a topic, and that will stay true all the way through university, or however far you want to take your education. It's unlikely that every single topic you ever encounter you're going to understand fully. So I guess if you really blank out on a topic and it really doesn't make any sense to you, especially while you're at school, I wouldn't sweat over it too much, because it's not necessary to understand the topic if all you have to do is write a test about it. Which kind of brings me back to my school days when especially in a subject like biology, I didn't really have to understand all the mechanisms that were at work in a cell. As long as I learned the relevant book pages, I would ace my tests. And so all I could really tell you on the top subject is this is what Google says, and you can find that out yourself. And I would think that would actually be a good idea. And I know it's not the sort of cool answer, I guess, but it's the right answer. And how long? Okay, I've got about half the video left. I know that was kind of boring, but it's sort of a point that's true in most subjects which you do at school, which I noticed at least when I was at school here in Germany, and to a lesser extent in Scotland as well. It often seems like people getting good grades weren't always the ones who had the best understanding of the subject. In many cases, the ones getting the good grades were the hard workers. Because, especially here in Germany, we had some people who sort of, they had a bit of a gift for a topic, so they wouldn't learn anything. They wouldn't read the books. They would assume that that they didn't have to, basically. And that sort of leads to problems, obviously, because no one knows everything about a topic, especially at school. So there comes a point in every subject where people are going to have to learn just by revising, just by actually reading about the topic instead of just saying, okay, I'm a natural at this, I don't have to. And so eventually it became quite obvious that the ones getting the good grades were not always the ones who were the most skilled at the subject. I remember I had guys in my class, two of them who were sort of, well, their parents were engineers, and they were good at physics, basically. Like they had the understanding for it. They knew how electrical currents flow and such, and how the calculations worked and such. So they spent the lesson time playing games with each other and not listening to the teacher. And for like the first 2 years or so of the physics lessons, that worked out fine, and they got good grades, like they were top of the class. But eventually, that sort of stopped working, and the ones getting the best grades were people who were, I don't want to say stupid, but they had no understanding of the subject matter at all. Which stupid has negative implications, so it's not meant as an insult. They were better at other topics, I guess. But when it came to physics, they just weren't up for it, basically. But that's not what's demanded at a school level. Like, if they'd gone on to university or anywhere further, they would have failed, and the other guys might have been a lot better. But at school, all they had to do was read the book and learn all the formulas and know which letter means which variable, and how to draw diagrams for circuits. And that's all they needed to know, and that would get them the top grade. So, yeah, if you don't understand biology, but you're actually interested in doing biology at a later stage, like if you say, I find the topic fascinating, but I don't understand what's going on, then that's a different matter. But if you're just saying, I don't understand the topic and I need a good grade, then what you're gonna have to do is basically sit down and learn. There's no easy shortcut to this. And another completely broken tree. And this was not me. Wow. So yeah. It's kind of... I'm not certain if this is the same experience you had at school. It might just be specific to how it works in my country, but and I didn't do biology when I switched schools and went to Scotland, so I don't know how biology was taught there. Judging from other sciences, it actually did require more understanding, but it's kind of true in many subjects at school that best grades aren't necessarily awarded for the best understanding, but usually for the most knowledge. And feel free to tell me your own experiences, well, like about if you're still at school, how it is right now, or if you were at school, how it was back then. Did the guys who got the best grades in a subject, were they the smartest ones or just the most hardworking ones? Because I really found in my school career that the hardworking ones tended to get better grades. Now, eventually it changed so that the hard workers they got good grades. And this was like towards the end of my school career, so I was like 16, 17, 18, in that kind of area. And that's when just knowing everything about the topic, like reading the book 500 times or something, basically knowing everything it said in the book. At that point, it stopped being a guarantee for getting the best grades. Like, these people still got very good marks. I'm not saying that it stops being important, but they were no longer the very best. Eventually, the very best were the ones who actually had a talent for the field and weren't entirely lazy. But yeah, throughout most of your school career, just sit down and learn, and that's going to get you through. There's no subject at all where you're going to fail just because you don't understand it fully. Every single subject you will be able to get at least a passing grade, and in most cases a good passing grade, if you sit down and maybe skip an afternoon of gaming and instead sit down with your book and just go through it. Which is boring, but I eventually, in some subjects, I had to do the same thing. And eventually I became one of the guys who got the best grades in certain subjects, despite not being the hardest worker, but having done some work. And there will always be the case of the one guy who's getting good grades because he just knows the topic so well, so it's all natural to him. But that's the really rare exception, so you shouldn't expect that to be the case. Most of the time, if you want better grades, sitting down and spending more time with the subject is gonna be the way to go, basically. And as I said, I know that's sort of the boring, mature, sit-down parent answer kind of thing. But it goes back to what I've said earlier, that your parents and your teachers, mostly they want what's best for you. Not always, and they might be wrong about what's best for you at times. And it's entirely natural through your development at some point that you're going to go through a phase where you're saying, oh, telling me to sit down and study, I'm never going to need this, so blah blah blah, the usual stuff. And it's entirely natural and normal that people at some point just think that. But it doesn't change the fact that in almost all cases what your parents tell you is what they assume to be true and what they assume to be the best for you. So if they tell you to sit down and learn to get better grades, it's not because they want to torture you. It's not because they want to spoil your fun. It's because they realize that, yes, in the short run, you're gonna have more fun spending afternoon with your friends or playing games and all that. But in the long run, getting good grades is going to be more fun. So I kind of derailed from the original topic. As I said, if there's a... This is now talking to the person who asked the question. If you are interested in biology and the sort of cell biology problem is what's basically keeping you from living the dream, then that's a different story, and I am prepared to do research on the topic, and I guess, but that would require very specific questions, so about like specific mechanisms that you don't understand or something, because cell biology is sort of it's edging very much into chemistry as well. And it's just a big topic. I can't research all of it. It's a bit better than just saying I don't understand biology, but still. So as I said, if you're just worried about your grades and stuff, then the only thing I can really tell you is, I don't know, read the book for half an hour before you go to bed. I know it sounds really nerdy and such, but it works, especially at school levels. Just read like 5 pages before you go to bed each night or something. And that's going to be enough to get you good grades if you actually understand what you read. You don't have to understand why things are working certain ways. Just read it and learn what you read, basically. And that will be enough, unless your school system is incredibly different from the ones I went through. That will be enough to get you good grades, and usually, as I said, depending on which point you are in school, at which point you are in school, it's going to make you the best in your class. And if that's not even your goal, then you don't even have to do that much reading and stuff. So yeah, I would say get back to me on that one. And everyone else, tell me about your school experience. Who were the best in terms of grades? Were it the hard workers? Were it the ones who were actually talented in the subject? And I know, I just realized it sounds a little like I resent the hard workers for being able to get good grades without understanding the subject. That's not really what I'm trying to say. It's just what I've learned in my school career, that to a certain extent hard work can replace talent and talent can replace hard work, but there comes a point when you just need both, basically. So yeah, let me know how your school career turned out, or how it is turning out in case you're still at school. Are people getting the good grades because they know the book? Are they getting good grades because they understand the book? Is it a bit of both? I guess I'd like to know. Oh, no X. So anyway, that was ChatCraft, I believe episode 11, so I'll see you next time. Bye bye.